Different hormones. What are the hormones? Anybody get that?
Cortisol.
As well as epinephrine and norepinephrine, right? Adrenaline.
I don't know, like they're in or
Acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine are hormones. Okay, that activate the muscles in the body, etc.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is stress just the excessive activation of the sympathetic nervous system?
Stress is basically a combination of things where experiences in life create a physiological response. It's kind of like an emotional response. When we get to motivation and emotion, you'll see that there's both a cognitive aspect to it and a physiological aspect to it. And so stress would be something like an experience that creates a activation of the sympathetic nervous system, challenges, everyday challenges or catastrophes, etc. And what is associated with it, what kind of responses physically, and then prolonged stress creates health consequences and or behavioral consequences or psychological consequences. That's kind of the big picture. Anything else? Okay, this is what I have for what we covered yesterday. We had the definition of stress. Did anybody get that as a topic? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, stressors. Big picture, the effects of stress. What is the big idea?
Force the person.
That stress causes physiological and psychological consequences. Mind and body responses. So your physiology and your emotional health or psychological behavioral aspects can have consequences from the stress. That's a big, big idea. Wayne, you want to say something?
No.
Types of stressful experiences, or another thing we looked at, catastrophes, life-changing, and daily hassles. Good. Burnout, we talked about that already. PTSD was another big thing we talked about yesterday. This is severe responses to stress. We talked about the causes and the characteristics. Anybody remember one characteristic of PTSD, whether it be either behavioral or a psychological consequence? Naveen? Flashbacks. Problems with sleeping. Anxiety could be depression.
Inability to get along with people.
Irritability, etc.
Jumpiness and inability to concentrate.
Yeah, really. Inability to concentrate is a really basic one. And then we talked about stress hormones and sympathetic nervous system responses. I think that's where we finished, right? Today, I would like to make sure we go through, we're going to continue sympathetic responses. We're going to look at the GAS, the General Adaptation Syndrome. We're going to look at Hans Selye, who created this theory, the diathesis stress model, and stress mediators, cognitive appraisal, predictability, and control. Hopefully we get to personality types, but this is the goal to get through this material today. How's the reading going? Are we on track?
Yeah.
So just to make sure we're clear on the reading components, there's the Bernstein reading. I think we said 1 through 7 is due today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have it?
Yeah.
Since we have so many people, can we check it Friday? Is that all right? So Friday, what do you think can we get done? Either, we have the Bernstein Part 2, and then we also have that Myers. There's about one module in Myers that you needed to look at. So, what module was it? Do you remember?
43.
Module 43. So, I mean, we have time. So maybe we can do it all on the weekend, or if you can get one more of these things done by Friday, would be ideal.
All the Bernstein is due Friday and the Myers is due Monday.
Okay, that's fine with me. Yes?
Can we just push it all back till Monday?
No. I think we should, because if you do it,
There's the poli-sci test on Sunday.
oh, fine. Well, I'll be happy to do that if that'll make you guys more.
Yeah.
I really would like you to, we're gonna cover it all in class. Maybe you don't need to read it if you pay attention and you go through it in class. I think it's good for you if you wanna read it on your own, make sure I don't make mistakes. So, I'm happy to do that, but for sure, I redid this PowerPoint to cover everything. So, if you want, you can skip Myers or you can skip half of Bernstein. I think we can skip one of those. But we can get it done Monday. All right, so it's up to you. I'm gonna cover, this is, see this, the GAS is in Myers, okay? The personality aspects are in Myers. The kind of definitions of stress are in Myers. That's why I trying to make you read that. So, why don't we just do this? Do Bernstein, I'll cover everything in Myers, okay? Bernstein's the only thing due. If you need more support, go through the Myers, okay?
Are we getting a test on the stuff we're doing?
Everything we do, we're gonna test you on eventually. So, I could give you a test, we just did a test last week, right? So I could give you a test after this unit, and we'll do all a review test, or I could do a test after the next unit, which is sensation and perception. We're right here, number 4. I'm open to that, whatever you want. All right, moving on. Did you need help?
Does anyone know Katie Giske? Anyone have class with her?
Aveen does.
Okay.
All right. So,
Hey, Richard.
Oh, arousal, you're talking about arousal? Oh.
Hey, Richard. You got a cookie?
I'm leaving, you get awkward in here.
have a seat.
No, no.
Whenever Richard comes in, I want you to point the camera to him.
Mega church, we're not allowed to talk about.
What's that?
At my mega church, we're not allowed to.
All right. So, again, part of the sympathetic response is physiological arousal. We talked about why the body needs that extra energy. It's automatic. You can't control it. The long-term issues are really significant for what we're discussing. And again, this is where you're going to have most of the health issues. Your health concerns or behavioral concerns if you have long-term stress. These people basically in a war zone or high-stress jobs, police and firemen and first responders kind of thing. Unpredictable, you don't really know what's going to happen. Uncontrollable situations, okay? So you guys are going to have a poli-sci test, so that's a short-term stressor, and you're really concerned about it. If you're not prepared, you're going to have a higher level of anxiety, etc. Okay? Understand?
Yep.
Any questions? So we can all identify with that, short-term and long-term, and then, the end game is, well, how can you address these things? If you're stuck in a long-term situation, there's different ways that you can interpret it. That's a stress mediator. Okay, the general adaptation syndrome. This is really important. This is always on the AP exam, and it's a really neat paradigm or understanding of the stress response. So this is, again, physiological. Hans Seeley is the researcher. You gotta start attaching names with ideas. Hans basically is saying the body goes through three phases of reaction to stress, especially prolonged stress. So in the initial stage is your body is reacting. So this is totally sympathetic, immediate. This can be short term. Emergency reaction. Parent walks in, I get nervous. Boom, my heart rate starts to go up. I start to sweat a little bit. Okay. Then if it's prolonged, your body is keeping at a constant rate of arousal. And that's not the arousal that Richard's talking about. When you think of arousal, you want to think of body activation. You know, heart rate is a little bit up and maybe a little tense. Neurotransmitters carry messages to organs. Your adrenal glands start to release corticosteroids. They increase the blood sugar for energy while reducing inflammation and pain, reducing blood flow to other body function, reproduction, digestion, growth, gradually shut down. Over time, the body becomes depleted. So this can be a significant amount of time. If someone's deployed overseas and they're in a combat zone where they're constantly or intermittently being attacked, you're here most of the time. Okay? And eventually, the last part is you become exhausted. If you're stuck in the resistance phase, you get to an exhaustion phase. Stress has continued for some time. Your body's ability to resist is lost because its adaptation energy supply is gone. So you are depleted because you've been stuck in the resistance phase for so long. Often referred to as overload, burnout, adrenal fatigue, maladaptation, or dysfunction. Here's where stress levels go up and stay up, vulnerable to illness here. So your body's ability to deal with the chronic stress is depleted and you get exhausted and burn out. And then you're really, really susceptible to the negative health effects. Yes?
So during the general adaptation syndrome, you go through
Adaptation.
You go through all three of these phases in order?
Yes. Yes. Again, this is a short term, the initial reaction. And then this, if you're in prolonged situation. So for example, 9/11, I was ironing my shirt for work. I was going to Claremont High School and it was like 7 o'clock, 6:45. And I always watch the Today Show for like 10 minutes. And planes hit the first tower. Oh my God, what's going on? And then the planes hit the second tower. I was, whoa! For sure, that was my alarm reaction. What's going on? I went and woke up my son who was sleeping. Wake up! Go watch the TV. Don't be scared. Anyway. And then for the next few days, the whole day was resistance. The kids were upset, teachers were crying, who were like, oh my God, what is really going on? You come home, you're still in this resistance phase because you're watching the news 24/7 and it's over and over, the planes land smashing in, people jumping out of the World Trade Center, people screaming and crying and running through the streets and dust and rubble, etc. You're watching this, you're living it on TV. So that's kind of an example of the resistance phase. And if it continues, you just get exhausted. At the end of the week, you're just like, I can't believe this is all going on. Hans Seeley, any questions about this? I really should show you a nice picture. You want to see a picture of this? There's a good one in the book. GAS. Oh, wait a minute, that probably won't work. Ooh, look at that. Okay, is that one pretty clear? think? Is that one clear? Or like this one, you like a colorful one? You like that one?
You can't really see the line.
You can't see it? You don't want that one? Oh, that's weird. You like that one? I like that. The Myers book has a good graphic on that one. How's that look? So again, your alarm, your immediate initial reaction, and then if you're maintaining that same or similar level of tension or stress that's attacking you, or things that you have to interact with and deal with, you maintain that high level until you're just exhausted. Now, has the stress level reduced here? Does the stress reduce on this end? No. The stress level is still the same. Your body's ability to cope or to respond is depleted. It's like having lunch or breakfast and you have energy all day, you can deal with it, and then at the end of the day you don't have any lunch or food to help sustain your energy level. You get tired, but you still have the same stressors are affecting you. I think that's a good way to do it. Do you see it? Okay. Any questions about this? So again, our body, this is a physiological, isn't it? This is only physiological. Is it working? Is it working?
You need to charge your phone more.
Anyone have a charger? Can you plug it in? Okay, moving on. You can actually pause it now. Wait till we get a charger.